Next slide. Oh, okay, here we go. Okay, so other puzzles for the literal day view. How can there be literal days when there wasn't a sun yet? For days 1 through 3. Day 4, of course, is the command, let there be lights. Sun, moon, stars. How can there be literal days when we don't yet have a sun, which is the measure of our day? Another puzzle here, we note, contrary to the claim of 24-hour day creationists, that the word Yom actually has 3 meanings already in the first chapters of Genesis. Look at chapter 1, verse 5. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. How long is that first day that he called day in contrast to the night? Give a guess. What do you think? What, 12 hours? Yeah, okay, because there's night also. So the first appearance of Yom is a 12-hour period of light. Then we have at the end of verse 5, one day. That's both the darkness and the light. And now look at chapter 2, verse 4. And halfway through that verse, a new Hebrew sentence begins. On the day the Lord God made earth and heaven. Is how some translations render that second half of the verse. And that sentence goes all the way through verse 7. Notice, on the day the Lord God made earth and heaven, and no shrub of the field had yet appeared on the earth, and no plant of the field had sprung up. For the Lord God had not sent rain on the earth, and there was no man to work the ground, but streams came up from the ground and watered the whole surface of the ground. The Lord God formed the man from the dust of the ground, and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living being. Notice the temporal clause that introduces the main clause, the temporal clause, on the day the Lord God made earth and heaven. What's the main clause? The Lord God formed the man from the dust of the ground. Is that a one-day creation story? Now it so happens that when we combine the word Yom with the prefix Bi, Biyom, that's what we have at the halfway through verse 4, that usually means when. Biyom, when. So here we have 3 meanings of the word Yom in the first 2 chapters of Genesis. How many have heard it claimed that Yom always means a normal day? Well, they're not reading the Bible carefully, are they? Also, we have that puzzle regarding the definite article. We noted that in the first 5 days, we have no definite article in the word day, and then we get it with day 6 and day 7. What is the Hebrew writer telling us by this subtle difference? Let me make a question rather than a statement. Is it a signal that there is room to debate the nature of the days? Is it? I'll raise the question. That's all I'll do right now. Okay, also, what are the cardinal number 1 day for the first day, as Basil observed in his Hexameron sermons? One final note. Turn to Hebrews chapter 4, New Testament. Here our writer has been speaking about the generation of disobedient Israelites in the wilderness and in the time of Joshua. And in chapter 3 we have the call then that if you hear his voice, do not harden your heart. Don't be like that generation of rebels in the wilderness when Moses was rebelled against and the mandate to take the land was rejected. When only Joshua and Caleb said, yes, we can take the land. Don't be like that generation, says chapter 3. And in chapter 4, we have this statement, therefore, since the promise of entering his rest still stands, let us be careful that none of you be found to have fallen short of it. And then skipping down, verse 3 ends with this phrase, and yet his work has been finished since the creation of the world. For somewhere he's spoken about the 7th day in these words, On the seventh day God rested from all his works. And then they quote Psalm 95, they shall never enter my rest. It therefore remains that some will enter that rest. Those who formerly had the gospel preached to them did not go in because of their disobedience. Therefore God again set a certain day, calling it today, and then skipping down, verse 9, there therefore remains a Sabbath rest for the people of God. For anyone who enters God's rest from his own work, just as God did from his. What's going on in this text? The Genesis creation story is quoted here, the seventh day, which is the opening lines of chapter 2. And the interpreter, the Hebrew's interpreter is saying that that day, the seventh day, is an everlasting day. And you may enter into it by faith in Jesus Christ. The Israelites who believed the promise, they too entered into that day. If day 7 is an everlasting day, what about the other 6 days? Must we press a literalist interpretation there if Hebrews thinks the 7th as an eternal day? Now bear in mind, I'm just reading the Bible here, right? The Bible facts. I'm not making this up, right? Okay, I'm not making this up. Okay, so next slide, please. Here I see it. I got ahead of myself. Yeah, so there's Mount Etna there in the middle there, lava on the limestone bed. Okay, there's the Grand Canyon. There's light from the farthest galaxies. Okay, I already made those points. But the bottom point I not made. Here's a serious theological question for young earth creationists. If the world systematically appears to have great age, but does not have it truly, is God, who framed the world, a deceiver? In Psalm 19, we see that the heavens are telling the glory of God, and the firmament shows his handiwork. Day to day pours forth speech, night to night pours forth knowledge. There's no speech, no words where their word does not penetrate, says the psalm. Are the heavens and is the earth a reliable witness to the handiwork of the Creator? That seems to be a noble position to hold. That the world is a reliable artifact of the handiwork of God. The doctrine of apparent age means that the world is not a reliable artifact, a reliable testament to the work of God. So this is one of my objections. You can see I'm not a young earth creationist. Young earth creationism is an orthodox view. It's orthodox. Many godly Christians hold it. People in this room no doubt hold it. It is not my view. I respect the view, but I ask this question. That's a serious theological question.